Among the militant secularists are many so-called progressives. But where is the progress? We are told we are living in a post-Christian era, but what has replaced the Judeo-Christian moral system? What is it that can fill the spiritual void in the hearts of the individual person? And what is the system of values that can sustain human social life? The fact is that no secular creed has emerged capable of performing the role of religion. This is not decay. This is organized destruction. Secularists and their allies have marshaled all the forces of mass communication, popular culture, the entertainment industry, and academia in an unremitting assault on religion and traditional values.
Bill Barr, the Attorney General, is an excellent lawyer, but he's also, as we just heard, and I would really recommend that you go, if you have the chance, and watch or listen to that entire speech that he gave earlier in the week. He's also somebody who really understands the spiritual crisis of our current moment. You have a left wing in this country that, as I know there are a lot of Democrats who think of themselves as very religious and very spiritual, but the leadership of the progressive left, and as he says, what progress have they made in spiritual areas other than the concerted effort to destroy religion? The leadership of the left is atheist, at least in their policies, in their vision of the role of government in people's lives. And the leadership of the progressive left also views Judeo-Christian values as not just an anachronism, but a threat. And threats must be dealt with. Threats must be destroyed. You can't allow that to continue on. You can't have an ongoing, in the background possibility of a resurgence, let's say, in American culture of Judeo-Christian values. I've always been, and I'm honest with you about who I think is impressive and who is not in this administration, and who I believe has competence and who is a buffoon, because unfortunately there have been a lot of those in the Trump White House. Bill Barr is a very smart guy, and he understands what's really going on here. And the point about pop culture being marshaled in a way that the forces of the left in pop culture are specifically actively working toward the destruction of what had been the moral fabric of this nation, you see it happening all the time all around you. The left never takes a position that, at least not in recent memory, that Christian beliefs, Christian values, Judeo-Christian beliefs and values should be supported, should be treated with any, not deference, any respect. And the moment that I think really will stick out in a lot of people's minds was when Beto O'Rourke, who is clearly a man who is trying to punch way above his weight in any presidential contest, he's just not like that, like smart really, but he's just like really into himself and was like born to do this, and so he thinks he should be president. But when Beto said that churches that advocate for, say, traditional marriage should lose their tax-exempt status, he was giving voice to what the progressive left believes in this country, just has not been willing. They have not been willing to openly take that position because they don't want to suffer the political consequences. But that's not the same thing as rejecting this. That's not the same thing as saying that it should never happen. They're waiting for the moment in time when they can do it without fear of reprisal. And Beto really just gave away the game a bit early on all of this. And that's why, though, I think now when we have these conversations about what's the difference between the left and the right, the American left wants to put the government in place of God. You can still have your private God or gods, whatever that may be, or you could still worship Mother Earth in private. Well, that one they actually want as a function of public policy, because climate change activism is a religion. Why is climate change activism catching on so much? Why do so many people react as though they've been personally affronted? they have been, as human beings, they have been undermined, they've been assaulted by the questioning of what is inherently a scientific debate. Why do they get so mad? Call you a denier? Even sometimes publicly say that you should be banned from raising doubts about climate change. This is all straight out of a true believer of a religion, and a religion that has not matured to a level where it has its own sense of purpose and its sense of its destiny, such that it doesn't feel the need to be constantly forcing people to go along with what it says or else. But climate change has been catching on so much because there is a spiritual crisis in the country. Why do we exist for? Oh, sure, we exist because we want to be woke. We want justice, social justice, of course. We will not rest until transgender athletes can compete against women in every sport at every level, all the way down to grade school. These are all political purposes, but that doesn't really give people enough meaning. And no one person is necessary for any of that. We can exist because we're part of some great collective, which the left certainly believes. And that collective action is a motivating force in our day-to-day lives. And that we should just take satisfaction and pride in being a part of the great mass that is leveraged by the apparatus of the political left in this country to achieve certain ends. Yay. Part of that entity, however you want to describe it. That's not enough. So you need something that is truly existential, a fight between good and evil, between heaven and hell, between God and the devil. But you can't actually use any of those things because that's religion. So what do you come up with now? Oh, well, humanity will go extinct unless we harness the collective that I was speaking about before and understand that our purpose as human beings now, according to the climate change activists, is not a relationship with God. It's not achieving our spiritual destiny of trying to become good people that are worthwhile and that do God's will here on earth. None of that stuff. That's all like Old Testament, New Testament, whatever. It's, we exist for the purposes of saving the future generations of this planet by empowering a super government to change every aspect of our life to stop putting CO2, which is less than 1% of the atmosphere, in the air. That's why we exist. That's shallow stuff. It's also not true, but we'll put aside the scientific gaping holes in all that theory. This is why it's catching on so much now. It is a religious belief for people who think they're too smart for religion. I think I said that recently on Fox, and Media Matters, and all these groups got all upset. Because it's true. If it were silly, if the people that were so into climate change weren't offended by the truth of the statement, they would ignore it because who would care? But what I say is true. And what the Attorney General here says about the forces, the militant secularists of the left, they view this as the ultimate spiritual battle of our age is to eradicate spirituality. The ultimate moral quest for the progressive left today is to destroy the moral teachings that have been the bulwark of much of human civilization for millennia now. Destroy all that. Kick at the load-bearing walls of Judeo-Christian ideology, morality, ethics. Kick at the load-bearing walls of Western civilization and see what happens. And this is what the progressive left is doing in this country. This is how they're fighting. This is what they're striving for all the time. We can sit back and allow it to happen and wonder why there'll be not just lost generations, but perhaps lost centuries, perhaps a new dark ages of militant secularism descending upon this country and many others with it. Or we can say perhaps there is wisdom. There's wisdom in Judeo-Christian teaching. worth fighting for as a matter of public policy, not just as personal spiritual belief. I think the Attorney General is really onto something. I think he knows exactly what he's talking about here. I wish he would run for something.
You know, what I'm concerned about is an impeachment inquiry that's moving forward, that's denying the president and his administration due process. If we want to exercise oversight, which is our responsibility in Congress, you don't have to label it an impeachment inquiry. If you do, I certainly hope that Speaker Pelosi and Leader Hoyer will put a vote on the floor of the House, just like the 3 other impeachments in our nation's history, to ensure that the American people know where each and every member of Congress stands in moving this inquiry forward. Otherwise, we're just having committee hearings and people coming in and directing our own oversight.
Yeah, they're manipulating this whole process in ways that couldn't be any more obvious. They're weaponizing this whole impeachment inquiry mess against the president of the United States in ways that are dishonest, that are unfair, no transparency, all this secret stuff going on. But think about what the real play is here. Adam Schiff and his shifty Democrat colleagues, I should be more clever than that, but it was close enough. They tell us that they have to have secrecy. They have to protect these witnesses. Oh, we could never find out who the whistleblower is. Oh, good heavens. Not until they sign their 6-figure book deal and get on the speaking circuit. Then we can know who the whistleblower is. Maybe, and perhaps after the next election. Then you'll definitely, I think, find out who the whistleblower is. This person's not going to stay secret forever. And by their own choice. I would say that they want secrecy until they don't. They want the protections of the process, but not the protections for others in the process that come from transparency and accountability. So, what we have here, my friends, is the Democrats showing us who they really are in this process and what they're really planning to do. They don't want people to know what's going on behind closed doors, but then they'll have a very clear series of leaks. Most recently, leaks involving the testimony of the former U.S. ambassador to Ukraine. A series of leaks. So information can certainly get out from behind closed doors, but we can't have open access to any of it. So we can't really know what was said. We can't know who was asking what and what the games are the Democrats are playing here, which is why I have to say Representative Matt Gaetz, when he calls this a clown show, is most certainly onto something. Play clip 9, please.
So this morning we see further evidence that Adam Schiff's clown show of an impeachment proceeding continues. Adam Schiff lied when he said that he and his team had not had contact with the whistleblower. He lied when he read a false transcript into the record as chairman of the House Intelligence Committee.
Indeed. And it doesn't get much better after that. Impeaching the president for this Ukraine phone call. Some people have started to catch on to this because I know that you deal with this initial as a conservative, as somebody on the right, you try to assess things as they are, not as you wish that they would be. That's the emotionalism of the left. But when something like this comes up, you say, well, hold on, maybe, did Trump really make a mistake here? Did he do something bad? And a lot of people on the right that I know, I think, fell victim to, well, if so many people are so outraged about this, there must be something wrong. More are starting to come around to my opinion, which is people do things for personal benefit in politics all the time. And that's why we have to have very clear lines separating out what is corrupt from what is just politics. Because otherwise things can get very messy very quickly. You can't accept $1 million in cash for signing a bill, but there are a lot of ways that people can funnel cash to you for doing what you want or what they want you to do as a politician that are totally legal. And so just because the president would benefit politically if there was an investigation of Joe Biden and his son going on in Ukraine, it does not mean that is illicit or illegal. Sorry. There's a legitimate basis, and this is why all along, I haven't moved from this position. There's a legitimate basis for inquiry into the dealings that the Bidens had in Ukraine or the Obama administration, and if that happens to upset Democrats, that's just too bad. All right, we see how the Democrats are investigating everybody and anybody whenever they want, and not apologizing at all. So, get ready tonight for. I think a lot of the Democrats actually are going to be on the same sheet of music here in this debate. They're going to say, and some of you will be watching the debate probably as you're hearing this, but they're going to defend Joe Biden on the Ukraine thing because that's a liability for the Democratic Party. That's a bigger thing. Corruption isn't just about Joe Biden. Corruption is about the Democratic Party and the Obama administration, which is still held up as without scandal. Forget about Benghazi and Fast and Furious and the IRS targeting. Remember when the IRS was targeting the opponents of Barack Obama's administration? The thing that completely happened, 100%. On the record, we know it. Anyone go to prison for that? Anything really bad happen to anybody as a result of that? Nah. In an election year, by the way. In an election year, you had the IRS going after Obama's political opponents. This is what happened. But we're supposed to be outraged. Oh, and they said it was just decisions made at the field level. You know, it was decisions made by the field offices. It wasn't anything from up top, sure. But Joe Biden asking for some kind of investigation of. I'm sorry, Donald Trump asking for some kind of investigation of Joe Biden, Hunter Biden. That's considered to be the worst thing that anybody's. Worse than Watergate, which is a phrase that is so abused. Now that has no meaning. It would have to quickly be worse than Watergate, or else nobody will pay any attention to it. We have Senator Amy Klobuchar, by the way. She's gonna. If you're looking for somebody who's gonna break out tonight, I think it might be her. Actually, media is trying to set her up for a big run here, and she's definitely in contention for a vice presidential running slot. I think in this, they need to appeal to the Midwest, the crazy libs on the coasts. Here's Klobuchar talking about why impeachment exists. Play 6.
We literally have a president who is using immigrants as political pawns, belittling people who don't agree with him, destroying our democracy with dark money and voter suppression, and allowing a foreign country to make mincemeat of our democracy. And by the way, if you want to know why we have impeachment provisions in the Constitution, look back at what James Madison said at the Constitutional Convention. He said that he feared that a president would betray the trust of Americans for a foreign power. That was the reason he gave, and that is why those proceedings have begun in the House of Representatives.
Destroying our democracy with dark money, she says. How? Like what? All these charges, all these phrases that are trotted out. They sound so profound. It's just all sound and fury signifying nothing, my friends. But you already knew that, which is what the Democrat debates tonight will be.
Donald Trump in 2016 said he was going to make America great again, and what was Hillary Clinton's response? America is already great. Remember that? And that did not work. That was not the right answer. We have to acknowledge the depth and the severity of the problems that are racking our communities, but then we need real solutions that will actually improve our own lives. Donald Trump got some of the problems right, but his solutions were the opposite of what we need.
I'd still tell you, I think Yang, and I know you probably hated what he just said, that's fine, because I think the president has shown us that he does understand some of the solutions, because look what's been going on in the country, look what's been going on with the economy. But Yang and Tulsi Gabbard are people who, the Democrats, they cannot accept them. You know why? Because they're reminders that you don't have to be a sanctimonious, shrill, pandering lunatic to be a Democrat. Or maybe that you shouldn't have to be those things to be a Democrat. And the reason that Tulsi and Yang are so upsetting to the Democratic establishment is that they're a reminder of what could be. Tulsi and Yang are both individuals that I disagree with on a whole range of issues, but they seem like decent people who are trying their best and who are willing to listen to the other side, which separates them from the rest of the Democrat crew. I cannot believe Tom Steyer is going to be on that stage. Just a climate change radical. That's what he is. I mean, he is to climate change what Al Qaeda is to jihadism. I mean, he is a hardcore believer. And yet he's going to be on that. The guy's worth $1 billion. I don't know what to say. He's got plenty of money to buy books and actually read them, but he'd rather just talk about how we're going to save the world from CO2. You have Cory Booker, who is at this point, I think, he's really playing for a VP slot. The media loves him. There's always this very fawning support from the media about him, but it never really translates. Kamala Harris, totally underperforming in this election cycle. Yang is beating her in California, her home state. Bernie just had a heart attack, folks, so he's not up for this. He's too old. He's not up for this. I'm sorry. I know we're supposed to think Bernie's this cuddly fellow and it's all going to be fine and he's a cuddly commie and it's going to take the money from the rich people, give it to the poor people, and when the rich people have enough money, the poor people can know that they can have money too, and 97% tax rate, that's not that high. The billionaires can, the whole thing, right? We know his whole shtick, the whole spiel. It's not going to work. And then you have Biden running around trying to convince people that he's not part of really a world-class grifter scheme with his son. Not quite at Clintonian levels, but it's still certainly high. And the problem with Biden is people ask the question why, and there's never a good answer. Why Joe Biden? Because he's not Donald Trump? That's not enough. Not even for crazy Democrats, really. Well, for some of them, but not all of them. Elizabeth Warren. Well, she was a school teacher in the Midwest. And then she became a professor of law at Harvard University. And you know what needs to happen in this country? We need the big money in politics to just go away. And you think to yourself, it's like America is being hectored and lectured by a really annoying kindergarten teacher all the time, or a librarian who's just, no talking in the library. It makes it a really bad environment for studying. Then we got Yang, who I don't make fun of Yang because Yang's cool. I think Yang's all right. I don't really have I don't like his ideas on policy for the most part. I think that the universal basic income is a terrible idea. That would just be, it would just result in 51% of the country voting themselves more universal basic income all the time, which is not going to be good. Not going to be good for anybody. Then you know what I think about Beto, who is the worst. The worst of all of the candidates right now is Beto O'Rourke. And then you got Klobuchar. I have to work on my Klobuchar. She kind of sounds like this. She's from a Midwest state, and the Democrats need her support. And then, and Castro's still in the mix. I didn't realize that. Castro, perhaps most famous for his suggestion that taxpayers fund the fund the abortions of transgender illegal aliens. Thank you for that contribution to public discourse, Julian Castro. Thank you. That's your Democrat field tonight, folks. So as you are listening to this, you may be a bit ahead of the debate, or it might be a bit after. Definitely worth watching the Buckster do his tweet thing during the debates. That'll be fun for sure. So you can check that out. And I think that if I'm asking for, it's fun to throw predictions out there, because if I'm wrong, we'll just forget about it. But if I'm right, I'll play it back for you on the air. I think you're going to see Klobuchar have a good night. And no matter what happens, the media is going to say the standout is Elizabeth Warren. Oh, gosh. Am I really going to be the next president of the United States? Yeah, maybe, folks. Maybe.
Hey, Team Buck, it's time for roll call.
Facebook.com/BuckSections. How we'll kick off the roll call tonight. We also have teambuck at iHeartMedia.com if you want our email address. That is how we roll. John, kicking it off tonight. Hey, Buck, got a story. Might want to look into reporting on fake news. It should be breaking everywhere, but it's barely getting any traction with the mainstream media. I'm not surprised. Over the weekend, ABC got caught red-handed when they claimed they mistakenly aired a video at a machine gun range in Kentucky saying it was from the Turkish offensive in Syria. They even called it Slaughter in Syria. The clip aired on multiple ABC shows before ABC pulled the video. The machine gun range is called Knob Creek. If you have any questions, please let me know. Keep up the good work. Shields high, John. Well, John, thank you, my man. As you probably know at this point, we did talk about that on the show. And I even told you why I think, yeah, it was a mistake. They didn't mean for it to happen. But the climate for such an egregious error to happen is enabled by the desire to run with any story that is damaging to Trump as quickly as possible. No need for fact-checking. No need for diving into it beyond that. Michael. Hold on, let's go here. Tim, sorry, Michael's didn't come up on the screen here. Buck, your Warren is getting pretty good, but you need to add the annoying wavering that she has in her voice. For Trudeau, just take your current Warren, drop it an octave, and throw in some Canadian pronunciations. Do Trudeau by doing Warren, but lower octave and Canadian pronunciations. That might be closer than what we do right now for Trudeau, which is a fake accent for him because he does not sound as cool at all. But I like it nonetheless. Maybe we should say that I am Justin Trudeau's brother, Jean-Pierre Trudeau, the true power behind the throne in Canada. You know, we have to create just some random character so I can keep doing my stupid French accent. That might be kind of fun. Monsieur Trudeau, it's time for you to go. You should not be the Prime Minister of Canada because...
Singing in an accent, really?
I mean, we could probably do like a whole holiday special.
It's like you're taking everything people complain about and you're putting it into one.
Jingle bells, Trudeau smells.
Geez.
Oh, we do this all day.
That's what we'll be doing for the holidays when we take off.
A special Buck Sings the Holiday Hits calendar via Elizabeth Warren. Have a holly jolly Christmas. I could do it. We could make the Bernie. Oh, we got Bernie Sanders. Sleigh bells ringing in the air. You know,
Bernie Sanders would sing "Dreidel, Dreidel, Dreidel."
Producer Mark.
What?
Well,
he would.
Oh yeah, so I forgot.
He's
about
Jewish.
It. Yeah, fair point.
Yeah.
All right, Kristen is next here. I heard you say today that the day for Pluto, but you didn't give the name of the channel. 248 is the channel. 248 is a channel on Pluto TV. There we go. Please do check it out, folks. It's fun. By the way, it's not, you should watch the first and foremost, which is our new channel on Pluto. But, there's like lots of stuff on Pluto. So it's a great app to have, and your number one destination on the Pluto TV app should be the first. Me and my man Jesse Kelly, other fantastic people are soon going to join the first revolution on Pluto TV, but we cannot name them quite yet. But they will be fantastic. We have all the we are actually bringing on all the best people, all the best people. Don't worry about what Trump says about the best people. We're bringing on the best people. Mark writes, Happy Columbus Day. Oh wait, there's a push to be rid of Columbus. Be careful what one wishes for. Does that mean no more Columbus Day parades or Columbus Day sales? Can't really change to another name because without Columbus, it would just be another day. Yeah, well, they're trying to say that it should be Indigenous Peoples Day. So I don't think that's going to catch on. Because it's the day that, right? It's the day it was picked for Columbus. So I don't think that anyone's going to be on board really for switching that over, at least not necessarily. And there were people that were throwing red paint on Columbus statues. I forget where that happened. It's so stupid. We should all just understand that every single culture and every religious group and every ethnicity, judged by the standards of today, in the 15th century, would have been xenophobic, racist, bigoted, and evil. Okay? Everybody, everywhere. There was no, tolerant, by the standards of today, there was no tolerant culture. There was no, multiculturalism and diversity. These things, you had absolutist tribalism, religious wars. I mean, this is what was going on. So why are we just going to, this is why I brought up what was going on in the New World before it became the New World. You had Native American tribes warring against each other, taking over other tribes, enslaving other tribes, murdering each other. I mean, this is human history, folks, everywhere. So why do we pretend that, we can't celebrate this culture or this individual because bad things happened? Look at this stuff. I mean, Muhammad was a warlord. Does that mean that Islam is now completely, beyond the pale for any of us to talk about? I'm asking. I mean, why is that okay? Muhammad was, there were captives of the earliest Islamic tribe, the Islamic faith, who were murdered. I mean, all kinds. Anyway, we could talk about this stuff all day, but we're in roll call, and I'm getting fired up late in the show. Wayne, Buck, thank you for your incisive analysis of politics. I need to ask you, have you heard Dana Lash's Elizabeth Warren? It's the best. I mean, I'm going to have to hear it because I don't know if it's better than mine. I'm just going to, and I love Dana Lash. But is her Elizabeth Warren better than mine? That is a question for the ages. We will have to see. Have you heard her Elizabeth Warren? You look like you're moving over here to tell me you have.
No, just doing work.
Oh, you're just working.
Yeah.
Keeping the show on the air?
Yeah, doing that thing I do.
Please keep doing that.
Yes.
It's helpful when we have the show that is still on the air. But yeah, maybe Dana and I can have a Warren off. Wow, Dana, I would like to challenge you to a Warren versus Warren.
I'll have to invite her on the show just for that.
Yeah, we might have a conversation in Warrenism. We could do that. Let's see. We've Douglas writing, Buck, why isn't the renaming of Columbus Day to Indigenous Peoples Day a prime example of cultural appropriation? Douglas, the answer to your question is that it is impossible, according to the social justice left, for for people to appropriate Western European culture. Appropriation is a one-way thing that can only happen when people who are in a position of power over another people take their stuff. That's what they would say. The same way that there are many people on the left who now argue that racism is only possible when a group that generally or systematically dominates another group engages in negative behaviors toward that group, but a group that is, in terms of intersectional dynamics, the oppressed cannot be the oppressor. Which is also, by the way, nonsense, but nonetheless, this is what people say. I'm just telling you what they say. Just telling you what's going on. Hey, Buck. Tom P. here. Love your posts and your broadcast appearances. Keep up the good work. Well, Tom P., thank you so much, my man. I appreciate it. Give the family my warm regards, and I appreciate the kind thoughts about what we're doing here in the show. Irene, very good assessments of Biden and Biden Jr. It drives me crazy that the dim Democrats cannot see the hypocrisy. All right, I am with you on that one. Faux show. Alan, hey, Buck, why aren't the famous people who were on the board of directors of Theranos being talked about since they were not qualified to understand what Theranos was doing? They were just as guilty as Biden's son of not having the qualifications. I'm guessing there are a lot of people on the Theranos board that have no qualifications outside their contacts. Well, Alan, I mean, I think you can make the argument that a Secretary of State gives, or former Secretary of State gives, a certain degree of gravitas and also useful business connections and perhaps even strategic insight. You could argue those things. But that's different. That's a different situation than what Hunter Biden would be, which is just a guy who's related to a guy who's all those, you could argue are all those things. But yeah, company boards, look, there are ways that people pay people off without doing the bag of cash under the table, and board seats is a very good way to do it. By the way, there is a sketchy Ukrainian company out there that's looking for somebody to sit on the board for $50K a month. Buck Sexton is fantastic option for the board seat. Talk to you tomorrow, team. Shields high.